Hi, everybody. This is your after search tea time, and we are here today with fellow unionists. I'm Lisi, and I'll let the other ladies just introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Roxanne.
And I'm Nikki. Hi.
Hi. So, we just watched the sermon about priests and nuns through the lens of unionism, and um, I know at least in the Northern Hemisphere, we're all like bundled up here. At least I am, like at Cold Easley. Yeah, we're here to talk about it. We want to know what you think about it. If you're watching this after church tea time, what did you think about the sermon? Um, yeah, I would love to hear from you guys, Nikki and Roxanne, like what your initial thoughts were about the sermon and the topic of priests and nuns in unionist religion.
Okay. For me, it was very beautiful to understand how the relationship with God has evolved, and that now we have like this new structure and this new way of relating to God, and having like personal relationship with God. Um, it was very interesting to hear about how priests um, worked uh, in that time, like in the Dark Ages. So I knew about it, just I didn't know exactly in this way that Ulysses explained. Um, yeah, and how sometimes, or like for me personally, I also had this um, belief of having somebody else, or like or relying in a way energetically on someone else instead of having that towards like with myself first, like that relationship with God. And I saw that manifested like with my coaches, that I would like feel, or I would see them kind of like the source of connection to God. And that kind of made me, for a period of time, see that I could just heal when I have someone else. And so like I had to rely on someone else to do like very deep healing. Um, but yeah, the truth is that we do have, and the teaching teaches us exactly not to do that, and that we can have that personal relationship with God. And also, I really loved when you shared that, when we watch the classes, or when we engage with the teaching in the courses or in the book, um, or also volunteering, we do have that direct relationship, and it's very beautiful that we have access to it without having to rely on someone else, or to go somewhere specific, or um, to have any kind of limitation. And yeah, it's a blessing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Like that was like my whole inspiration for creating the sermon is having healed through that block that you shared, like with um seeing my coach or even Jeff and Shaleia as God. And like I went through many blocks and like a large period of time where like I had a lot of trouble with discernment. Like I was like, which which is the way that's aligned? Like, am I aligned to your God? You know, it was an I think that's a healthy question to ask on some regards, but I got to the point where like I was dependent on someone else telling me whether I was aligned or not, and like didn't realize my own power to go within and find God there and find the truth there. Um, so I'm still working on it. I think there's some places where I'm still like kind of like going outside of myself before going within myself to find the answers. But ultimately, like the core choice has been made to make that shift, and I'm just kind of cleaning up all the other stuff. I was curious, Roxanne, did you want to add anything about what you felt about the sermon?
Yeah, for me, it really made me reflect on like my own journey and how like I grew up Catholic. And so like you go to church and like to me, like the priest represented God. And so it just feels like I always was seeing God outside of myself. And even like coming into the community, I feel like I was still seeking a lot of validation from others. And I guess that was just like my process. But the thing is, it always feels bad when you're looking for validation on the outside. And so, like, over the years, I've learned to really go within and have like my own relationship with God. And, it always feels good and peaceful when you're going within and just being with God. So yeah, for me, it was really brought me back to where I started and like where I am now. And like you said, Lacey, like I am still also working on that and just going deeper with my relationship with God and trusting myself and trusting him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think one of the challenges I had about, trusting myself in God is like, there were moments in my life where I thought I was following God, but it was actually ego. And so I was like craving this like authority to tell me yes, no. And because I think the other side of that spectrum is like solely depending on yourself to come up with that, like without, participating in a community or um like listening to guidance and teachings. And I just feel like that, like remembering that the teachings of union are revelation, um it helped me make that connection, like, oh, like you don't have to depend on another person or put someone else in God's place, but neither do you have to bumble around blindly within yourself and, try to do everything and figure things out from within your own consciousness. Like I think it was like Einstein that said like, um you can't resolve the problem at the level of consciousness that it was created. I am paraphrasing. Um, but that was kind of like where I was getting stuck. And then I realized like, oh, like it's not just like a bunch of us coming around like, I know the answers. I'm just gonna follow myself and ignore you. It's more like we all have that tool that we can all turn to and like start to like really reflect and receive guidance, and that's the teachings. And I think like priests would kind of do that for people, like they would, um in the past, like I think priesthood is different nowadays. Even like if you look at the pope, like the pope's platform is so much different now than it was like 100 years or even a millennia ago. But um like the priest would go and they would read the Bible and they would like tell you how to interpret the Bible. I mean, I'm simplifying, but that's essentially what it was. And now you kind of get to do that, and then we can come together and like share what our reflections are on what we learned. And I think that's so beautiful, um, that we can all deepen together, because we all have that same divinity and that same access to the teachings and the same access to God, and we're all like able to contribute. Like just it's just such a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling. Yeah. Um, I was curious, like if any of you have like grown up in a religion where you had a minister or a priest, and like how it might have felt to move from that to unionism, where you're having your own relationship with the teachings. Did anybody grow up in a certain religion?
Um, for me, it's a bit like mixed up because my parents are kind of, they don't follow a religion. It's just that the country that I grew up in as a child was Catholic. So I went to church, I had a priest, I was raised by nuns in kindergarten. So I had like this kind of structure um, for myself. But I was like, I feel like I was like too young to really comprehend. It was just like more educational and like mannerism and like um, just basic um, growing up stuff. But I would say that I do relate with the part before coming to the teaching on trying to follow God without having a compass. And it's very um, it's very messy, because sometimes like you feel like you're following God, and then like you realize, no, actually that was not God. And it's very stressful also, because you're kind of like, I feel like I was trying to see something that I was not supposed to see alone. And like I was like, am I doing the right thing? Am I following the right thing? And it's like a lot of trial and errors. And I was like feeling very frustrated also, like with my spirituality in general. And that's when I found the teaching. I was like, oh, okay. Now it makes sense. I'm good. So yeah, now like everything is very structured and everything makes sense. So it's very easy. um it has like its trial, obviously, because we're on a spiritual journey, but you know that you have that support, you know that you have the teaching to rely on, you have the tools to heal. It's much more, it's life changing. That's it.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I would go to church every Sunday kind of thing. Like that's how I grew up. And in some ways it was really nice. Like I enjoyed the community aspect. It was a very peaceful place to just reflect. And the thing is, oftentimes I didn't really understand what was being shared. And so I didn't really feel like I could come home and like apply anything concrete into my life. Whereas with the teachings of union, I feel like every little piece of it like gives me something. And it's just more like I can like integrate it into my life and actually see like immediate results. Whereas I felt like growing up as a Catholic, it was more like I go to church, that's like a separate thing that I do, and it's really nice and it's peaceful, but I didn't really know, like it wasn't pushing me to grow and it wasn't really bringing me the healing that I needed. Because I was still living with the trauma, I was still living with the anxiety and the depression. So yeah, I feel like the teachings just takes it to the next level and like um, it just helps you in every area of your life. And that's something that I feel I'd always been searching for. And I'm really grateful that I'm here and that I found this work. Yeah.
Yeah, amen to that. And there is a beauty in like other religions that are still like very relevant today. And, we're not here to like say like our way is best and their way is not. But at the same time, like you brought up a really good point, and it's like you like didn't feel like your personal needs were addressed in such maybe a large congregation. Like I wonder how many people were attending your church, if you can remember. Think maybe you were young, I don't know.
Yeah, no, back in the day, I'd probably say like between 50 to 70, maybe
Okay.
around that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's like a good sized church, but there's churches that are like they're called mega churches, and we have a few like close to me in the south of the United States, thousands and thousands of people, and they have like multiple sermons every Sunday. And um I think for some people like that really works, but I feel like when your soul is like ready to be closer to God, like you're ready to learn the path that takes you closer to God. Like in a sense, like I really don't have a way to compare, but I have this feeling that the work that we do and the purification process that we have in the teachings of union is maybe similar to what monks and nuns of today do. Like that's their life, like all day, every day. This is who I am, and I feel like that's us. Like that's what we do as well. Um, and yeah, I just feel like um, I really also feel like I look at other religions and I see the beauty in them, and I see like the dedication and the persistence. But this way just works better for me. It was like I was a Baha'i, like I was a member of the Baha'i faith, and actually, in the Baha'i faith, one of the tenets is your own individual relationship with God. So there weren't any priests in the Baha'i faith either, but there was something called an assembly of elected, like the community actually elected this assembly once a year of 9 people. It was a spiritual assembly, and they would make decisions on the kind of like bureaucracy level of the religion, like what children's classes or workshops to host and things like that. Um, so like I got used to the idea of connecting to God myself, but I still felt kind of like what you were sharing, Roxanne, like my traumas, like I couldn't access that part of the religion because I had a lot of traumas and projections, and like there was like a more direct way that I needed to be loved. And that's why I really, really gravitated towards the teachings of union and having a guru. I think that's also different, is like what you the word you used, Nikki, was like compass. Like that's how I feel about the teachings of union and Jeff and Shaleia, is like they gave me a more clear, concrete compass to like identify blocks inside of myself. I just love that. Like that's what I gravitated towards like for a long time, is like self reflection and self improvement groups. I knew that piece was missing. So I was curious, like I have another question for the whole group. Like, what do you feel is the hardest part about being a unionist and kind of being responsible for your own growth and relationship with God? Like I would say more like your own relationship with God. Like what do you feel is like the hardest part about that?
I would say for the longest time has been um, being mindful not to get attached from the outside, and like seeking that God outside, or like letting go of that belief that God is not physical. So like bridging that into the physical and seeing that God is everything, not just like in my heart and in me, but everywhere. I like making that connection that, as you said in the sermon as well, that God can move to people and like can speak to you through people. So like opening up to that while I have my own connection, and I do the inner work for myself. So like having this balance instead of kind of shutting down like a monk and going away in solitude. But yeah, I feel like this has been like the biggest thing, which is very good because I feel like I am constantly working on it, and I feel like it's getting clearer. But for the most time, it has been this specific thing. Also letting go of attachment, as I said, like to get stuff outside or searching stuff outside, but going directly within without having to go outside first and then kind of losing a bit of time and energy there, until I just like remind myself, hey, go in.
Great. What about you, Roxanne?
Yeah, kind of similar to what Nikki said. I think it's just learning that balance of like going within and like having your own relationship with God, your own unique relationship, but like also being open to receiving guidance from the outside. You're just having that balance, but without being attached, because something that Lisa said in the sermon that really hit me was like that you were always looking for someone else to be God. And I feel like every one of us kind of like have that on some level where we want someone else to like give you that confirmation. Um, but yeah, still learning to trust and be open. And like obviously we have a guru to always light the way for us. And I feel like without that, I don't know that I would have the safety to go within and find God. So, but still like being independent and like interdependent on God and having like, yeah, my own connection with him.
Yeah, like I feel like it's a call for us to be more spiritually mature. Like it's a spiritual maturity. Like I had this image come to mind of like myself, like always looking for mommy. Like, mommy, am I doing it right? Like I was like that child, and I think there's something really innocent about that. Like, the opposite would be like arrogantly thinking that you know everything. But Um, it was, I felt for like such a long time, like I had some very deep-seated insecurity in, um, like even having studied the work for a long time, I still felt like very insecure in wanting to know like whether I was doing it right. And I started to ask God about it. I was like, why am I so insecure about like myself and my own, understanding? And there's an element of control there. Like I was not comfortable in the process of learning. But I also got the answer like directly from the teachings. I asked God, why am I so insecure? And please show me. And the next Twin Flame Ascension School class I watched was about Jeff talking about how he would be getting these spiritual downloads and synchronicities, and he would like program numbers. And he said, like I think he was joking, but he was like, "Am I going crazy? Like, what is this?" And then he started talking about using a pendulum, and I was like, "Oh, why not use a pendulum?" And he was explaining how to use the pendulum in the class. And then, like, the moment that I watched the class, like, I realized God was speaking directly to me through the class that was recorded years ago. This is recent, by the way. This is after I recorded the sermon. Like, this is very, very recent. Um, and so I started using the pendulum and like realizing like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, God is real, and um, I do have many, many ways in which I can connect to God and hear God's voice. And if you listen to the Unionist prayer, like um, to listen to God, do only as God calls and hear the voice of God. Like there's a lot of illusions, like allusions with an A, alluding to, not the I, but allusions to the word like hearing God. And I feel like I look to Jeff and Shaleia as models of those who hear God and teach me how to hear God. And um, yeah, it's just it feels really good to like surrender to the fact that like I do have a connection to God and I can hear God within myself. Well, we are getting close to the end, I feel. Is there anything else that either of you wanted to share about the topic or anything that came up in your hearts? Do you guys feel pretty complete? Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with us today. Um, I hope you found this dialogue important and helpful to you. And if it inspires you, uh, for any reason, just please comment and share your thoughts and feelings. We'd love to hear. We'd love to be here with you and hear your thoughts. If you want to watch the sermon again or any of our past sermons, you can visit the unionism.org website. You can also tithe or donate to the Church of Union so that you can help us in our systems to share this teaching with the world, to really bring about this kind of coming of age and spirituality to the world. So thank you so much. We love you, and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye bye.